Hello and welcome back to my small little library. I'm gonna be a little bit distracted in this video. Hopefully I can cut it out, but my dog wants to play. I kind of have to do both at the same time. So, let's talk about my reading plans for September. I kind of tried a different approach this month. Ever since I reorganized my bookshelves, I have a hard time finding the books I haven't read yet. And I don't even own that many books. I mean, there are maybe like, I don't know, 600 here, 700, right around that corner. So yeah, there are quite a bit, but there are not that many books compared to, other people. But I cannot find, I don't have a good overview over the books I haven't read yet, and I miss books because of that. Especially the ones that aren't that standoutish, that kind of blend in with the rest of the books. So I took to Goodreads and I sorted, I went to my TBR list and I sorted them from the the ones that I added first to the last. That way I kind of sorted through the books that have been the longest on my TBR to kind of get an idea about the books I always tend to forget or haven't read it for some other reason. And the second goal, or idea for this month, was to really slow down on fantasy. I kind of burned out on fantasy a little bit, and I'm also not really that much in the mood to pick a fantasy up, which is really sad in my opinion because I love fantasy. But I think I just have to roll with it, to be honest, and read more non-fantasy books. There are still 2 fantasy books on the TBR. I have 7 books on the TBR. Well, technically you could count 3, but the third one is more horror in my opinion, so vampires. But I thought that might be a good way to kind of, get a little bit of fresh wind in the TBR and hopefully finish one, because last month wasn't good, but I also have had a lot of books in there that turned out to just not work for me at the moment. So what can you do, right? So let's start with the 2 fantasy books and then we go to the other ones. The first one, probably not a surprise, but I still have to read Words of Radiance Part 1. I still haven't continued with it. My plan is to read this really, really slowly across the whole month and then kind of, finish it at the end of September. That would be really, really great. Let's hope I can do it. I don't know. I don't vibe well with big fantasy books right now. But I still want to read this because I am interested to see how it continues, So I think that might be a working compromise for myself and this lovely book, But yeah, Brandon Sanderson. The only Brandon Sanderson on my TBR this month, because I think I just read too much of his. And then I picked another fantasy book that is on my TBR for quite some time now. I've never read something by Mercedes Lackey, so we'll try it. I have 3 series by her, so at some point I have to start with them. And this is one of the best rated ones on Goodreads. So this is Winds of Fate by Mercedes Lackey. And it's a fantasy trilogy about magic. The trilogy is named The Mage Winds. I do own all 3 of them, so if I love this, I can continue directly with it, which might be nice. And this is older fantasy. Maybe I just need to go back to the roots of fantasy a little bit. You don't know how tempted I was to relend myself the first Lord of the Rings book from the library. I listened to it in June or July, one of the 2. With the end of August, and I'm ready to re-listen to it again. I love that book series. So I just need some other good fantasy that is more a little bit more than the classical side. I love Brandon Sanderson, but for me he never really goes into the classical fantasy side, even though I think technically his books are in that theme, but he doesn't feel like that. I don't know why. As much as I love his books, if you would ask me, I would always go to the Lord of the Rings. I'm really sorry. So, then, I'm really sorry. The dog is standing right where I was standing, and now he's lying down. Oh. Dogs and filming, it's always a fun time. The next book I want to read is I think technically there are 2 sci-fi books on this TBR, but it is the one German book on my TBR, and that is Perry Roden, Der Mutantenkorps, or The Mutant Corpse. I think you could technically translate that like that. But yeah, it's the second part in the Perry Roden series. They used to be published in this really, really short format, I think in sci-fi magazines originally, by a lot of different authors as well, I think. These collections pretty much pull all of them together, put them into one, into a lot of big books. I don't know, there are, I think, like nearly 100 of these out there. It has a long history, in Germany. It's one of the really classical sci-fi in Germany, and my father really liked them, though he doesn't seem to remember them much at this point. But yeah, it's the only thing my father and I have in common. We're not close, but yeah, the love for reading and sci-fi. So I thought it's a long time ago that I read number 1, but I don't think that will be a problem because, it's a really classical sci-fi. The humans go to stars and they meet aliens. And here, not all humans go to the stars together. We have a little bit of the Russians, the Europeans, the Americans, that stuff. So they bring back some aliens. They actually really, they can communicate with them, and they also have, a little bit of friendship, our main character, Perry Roden, with one of the aliens, and the rest of humanity has mixed feelings, and, now we are leaving Earth, and let's see where Perry Roden's journey is going. You can barely see it, right? It's really a shiny book for it being this old, because these are, I think, the original copies. I bought them on eBay for an extremely cheap price. For these books, these go for a lot of money, a lot of the time. So this is from 1979, the collection. So you can think of one when the shorter stories came out. They are a lot older still. The next sci-fi I have, this one I just have on my TBR for a long, long time, and I did start it once, and I was kind of so confused that I stopped it again. I know there's a series out there, I don't know how it is, I have never watched it, but this is The Life of Never Letting Go, the first part of the Chaos Walking series by Patrick Ness. The one book I read by him was a kind of horror book with about grief, and that was A Monster Calls is the title, and that is one fantastic book. So yeah, maybe I will like these as well. They have something to do with people not being able to talk. No, you can hear the thoughts of other people. So there's really no privacy and no secrets. And then we have our main character, who is a month away from his birthday to become a man, and he stumbles onto a place that is completely silent, where you can't hear the thoughts of other people, and stuff starts from that. I don't know much about it, if I'm honest, but I really like the design of the books, so hopefully they're good. Okay, we're down to 3 books. The next one I have here is Along Came a Spider by James Patterson. This is the Alex Cross series, part 1. Because this time around I actually own part 1 of the series, which, if you buy booklots on eBay, it's not always guaranteed that you have the series in the right order. So I'm really happy to report that this time around I have part 1. I think, yes, Alex Cross is a homicide detective, and the daughter of a famous Hollywood actress is kidnapped, and so he probably has to help out. Detective novels, I love them. Hopefully this one is good. I mean, probably it's good that it's the first one. The last detective novel I read, where I didn't read the first one, kind of turned out to be not so great because I didn't read the first one. So let's try it with this one. Then, okay, so now we have one that I have on my TBR for a really, really long time. I got this random in a book box. And now, if I would have seen it on a shelf, I would have never bought it. But The description sounds really interesting. I just forgot that I owned it because it's just, it's really, really unassuming. And that is The Crocodile Bird by Ruth Rendell. So we have a mother and a daughter. They live really remote and kind of socially isolated. And one day some detectives ring the doorbell and your mother killed some people. And so the daughter reveals a lot of stuff about herself, and then she kind of reveals that mothers and daughters are often alike. And that is all that the book says, and it sounds so interesting that I really, really want to read it. I don't know. Random book, haven't heard of it at any point, and I totally forgot I owned it, but it sounds so interesting. So yeah, I will definitely pick this up pretty soon, to be honest. And then the last book is one I just cannot remember if I ever finished it. And that is The Passage by Justin Cronin. I bought this book a long time ago. I don't know, I was maybe 13, 14. It has to be that long ago. Was it? Let's see. 2011, so it's 12 years ago. 12 years ago. Okay. I was 16 when I bought this book. Not 14. But yeah, this is pretty much kind of a post-apocalyptic book coupled with vampires or vampire-like creatures. And the book is pretty much about a secret military camp, what people always talk about, there has to be some. And they experiment on humans and together with children. Nice, isn't it? And they kind of make these really weird vampire-ish creatures, and they are so sure, that they can keep them contained and everything is fine and it's a controllable super weapon. And we all know what happens, right? They get out and they pretty much destroy humanity. And the last remains of humanity kind of keep themselves together. And our main character is a little girl and the guy who picks her up. And she, her mother can't really take care of her, so she brings her to an orphanage prior to the, the monsters coming out. And the girl seems to have special abilities. And so, then we have pretty much this journey of the guy trying to keep the girl alive. I know that I loved this book back then, but I cannot for the life of me remember if I ever finished it, because it is quite a big book, and I know there are 2 or 3 parts to this series, so I definitely want to continue with it. Also, all of the creatures go by numbers, so I know that there's number 11, I think, is kind of important. Or was it 9? But there's one, one of these creatures that is the important one. And I'm really just realized that I still own this book, looking through my Goodreads, because I don't know why, but I always overlook it in my shelves. So getting this back out, and I will definitely try to read this. It is big, so we'll see how far I've come with all of those books. None of them are really short. But if I only read 7 books this month, I would be happy with all of those. So that is the last one, and I am really looking forward to these books. I think this is a way better way to look for books that I do want to read, but it also showed me that maybe I need to think about rearranging my shelves again if I ever want to be able to actually see the books that I haven't read yet. And remember that I haven't read them yet, So I don't know, I really shouldn't reorganize my shelves again, but I am tempted to do it anyway. So if I will do it, I will do a video about it, but let's just hope my head doesn't want to do it, but we'll see how annoyed I get. I mean, I also have a lot of books that I need to put on the shelves that I bought and finished reading already, so where are they supposed to go? We have to do a little bit of rearranging, at least for them, so we'll see how this goes. But so this is pretty much what I would love to read in September. Obviously, there will be some audiobooks that go on top of that, because I rarely find the audiobooks of the books I read on my library app, so I just listen to random ones I find on there that sound interesting, which a lot of times is non-fiction. So there might be 1 to 2 other non-fiction books coming onto that TBR. So yeah, that is my reading plan for September. I hope you also have some interesting books you want to get out and read. And so yeah, maybe leave a like, subscribe. That will mean the world to me, to be honest. And hopefully I will see you in the next video.